It's good to be back here. Always enjoy coming to Wharton, the great program that Michelle runs here. Program I was involved in, as I'll talk about, is part of my background. Before I moved over to the suburbs in Villanova, I was down here for a few years teaching sports law, sports business, and negotiations. Had great experience here and always enjoyed dealing with students and faculty here at such a great institution. And talking about sports, because sports is why we're here, right? Sports is a unifier. Sports is something that galvanizes. I've seen it firsthand throughout my career, what sports does to people. And everyone can relate to sports. Everyone thinks they would have been that athlete, you know, but for a coach that didn't like them, or a knee injury along the way, it would have been me out there, damn it. So I think sports is the unifier, and I see it all the time when people come to me and say, well, how do I get into sports? I want to get into sports. And now we're not talking about only young people. We're talking about people with careers in other businesses, people who want to transition to sports because, again, it's that romance, it's that emotion. It's something that evokes that feeling in all of us because we can relate. You know, it's what drives us. You know, the one thing I'll start out with so many young people, as I just said, asking how to get in, what do I do, how do I get into sports, so many people, how do I get to that point where I'm, you know, one of those people, how do I get the door, break down the door, get in the door, foot in the door. And to me, it's always about making yourself different. And this is true for any career, not just sports, but tell me what you do different. Tell me your special sauce. Tell me how you differentiate yourself from the so many other people that want to get into the business. How? What about you? You know, people come up, I want to be an agent. Like, great. I'm a player. Why would I sign with you? Well, I'm smart. I got good grades. Okay. No, that doesn't do it. I love sports. Nah, Who cares? I work really hard. Okay, what else? Why would I sign with you? I want to work for a team. Okay, great. Why? Why would a team hire you? What do you got that everyone else doesn't have? I want to work for a union. I want to work for a rec league. I want to work for an athletic department. I want to work. Whatever it is, find your special sauce, what makes you different. Maybe you've written about it. Maybe you've podcasted about it. Maybe you've blogged about it. And if you haven't, do it. Because if I'm an employer and I'm looking at what makes you different than the rest of them, unless you were college roommates with the #1 draft pick, which is probably the best way to be an agent, find out what's different about you. So when people come up and, you know, I'm this, I'm that, okay, show me. What's your writing sample? You know, I like the salary cap. Great. What have you done with the salary cap? What have you researched? What have you written? What have you blogged? What have you podcasted? What charts do you have? What analytical models do you have? Oh, I haven't done that yet. Okay, see ya. I want to work for an agent. Okay, what do you know about negotiating contracts that maybe is different? You know, what's a good way? Pick a free agent. Do a whole model for them. Show them that. Because that's the way you can separate yourself. Because so many other people come in and say, I love sports, I'd work really hard. Oh, great. Of course you love sports. That's why you're here. Who cares? I know who the third string tackle is for the Carolina Panthers. Who cares? Doesn't help me. So find a way to get in where you're positioned differently than everyone else. Somehow, some way. And I see it. It does happen. I'll talk about my Packer experiences. The assistant, the colleague that I had at the Packers that helped me the most, a woman that came in, didn't know a football from a basketball. Didn't know. And that's hard to believe in Green Bay, Wisconsin. But it happened. But she was a data analyst that came from a trucking company, Schneider Trucking, and she was wonderful. Because she had a skill that I and we needed badly. Because what happens is the NFL sends out all this stuff every night in all these data forms, what every team did that day, what every team's model looked like, what the league model looked like, whatever data happened that day. overnight. And then at 8 in the morning, she got it. She collated it into what I needed to see about cap, about contracts, about league matters, in a way that, wow, this is unbelievable. This is great. That was a skill that was so valuable to me and to us that it had no bearing whether she was a football fan or not, really. So I start this out by saying, you want to get into sports? Great. Why? Why? And this is also how you find out about people. What's your passion? What's your passion? And it can be sports. But like when I'll interview someone and they'll be on their resume something about, you know, I did swimming lessons for developmentally disabled kids. I'm like, yeah, tell me about that. I don't want to hear about sports. Tell me about that. And then if you see a passion that really shows like, oh man, they're into this. Like, I can see that transferring to work in sports. Like, yeah, I like this one. Because the way he or she talks about some hobby, some passion, that's great. You know, I teach a class every semester. I go around the room, you know, tell me about yourself, why are you here, what are you into sports? So I had one kid a couple years ago, and he identifies himself, I'm so-and-so, I'm from New Orleans, and he's wearing a Drew Brees jersey. And he starts going on. Now, usually it's 20 seconds. I'm so-and-so, I'm from Rockville Center, New York, I like sports, I heard your class was great. Great. This kid shows up, says, I'm from New Orleans. I've been a Saints fan my whole life. And in 2006, we signed Reggie. And then we got Drew. We got Drew. And I'm like, okay, I got a live one here. And so tell me about that. It was amazing. And then that 2009 year, and we're playing Brett in the championship game, and Brett is like incredible that game, but then he throws the pick, and the guy goes crazy. And we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm like, how'd you feel about that? Great. It was the best feel of my life. And then, and I'm like I said, I got a live one here. The whole class is like, oh my God, who's this kid? And then he goes, and the Super Bowl, and we did the onside kick, and Peyton, and hey, we're playing Peyton. Peyton's from New Orleans. Peyton's from New Orleans. I'm like, yeah. And he's just shaking. And we got the onside kick, and Peyton threw the pick, and Tracy, And I'm like, oh my God, you just got an A. He was tearing up. So this kid wore that Drew Brees jersey every day. Every day I saw him. He took my class, same class, fall semester, spring semester, fall semester next year, spring semester next year. I'll do whatever I can to help that kid. It's important to him. It's why he lives. He dreams, not just about Saints, but about passionately helping in sports. So those are some moments where you just say, okay, this one is into it. My background is instructive, I hope, to a lot of you because I've done a lot of twists and turns. And I always say, you know, allow your life to be a little bit serendipitous. You know, allow for serendipity in your life because the people that, to me, screw up the most are the ones that have the 5-year plans and can't get off it. Life is not linear. Life is meandering. And you gotta be flexible, you gotta be adaptable, and you gotta be willing. You know, I grew up in DC, Washington, DC. I was a tennis player. Played a little bit of, competitive tennis, and I got to the Nationals one year, Kalamazoo, Michigan. I go to the Nationals, got to the 3rd round, and I play this kid, and he comes out, and his name is John McEnroe. And I'm like, okay. But if you're in junior sports, like a lot of you have been, you know who the studs are, right, from the lists and stuff. It wasn't McEnroe. I never heard of this guy. He comes out, he's from Long Island, he's dumpy, he's fat. His mom's there. I'm like, I got this guy. And anyway, 12 games later, I was dispatched. I've never seen a player like that. You know, if you look at Nadal or Federer on the covers of magazines, their eyes are direct on those strings. McEnroe, who's lefty, he's like over here, you know. He just had surreal, and his brothers too, surreal hand-eye coordination, like a gift, a true gift from God. And you know McEnroe plays guitar, he does soccer, it's just amazing. And so I've never seen anything like it before or since, the way he played. And he went on to Stanford, won the Nationals, was in Wimbledon by his sophomore year, semifinals. I went to Stanford like 3 years later, no scholarship, but they had like a JV team. You know, well, there was an A team that played against like Cal and USC. There was a B team, played against Oregon. There was a C team. I was like on the G team. And I got to play once. I think I played against two teams. I played against Nevada, Reno, and Humboldt State. So I played. But at the end of it, some guys like me at the end of the bench were like, hey, we're only young once. Let's try this. And by this, it was like, let's try to be pro. And I saw the world of pro athletes unlike anything you see on TV, and it's really the majority of pro athletes, where they go out there and they're just sweating. They're just trying to get points. I'm playing in Chattanooga, in Lake Charles, Louisiana, in Rockford, Illinois, Pensacola, Florida, where there'd be maybe 3 people in the stands, 5, 10, girlfriends, whatever. We call our own lines. We try to get points. That's it. I'd show up on a Monday morning. I'd usually lose by Tuesday. Off to the next site. So I did this. I got as high as like 2,700 in the world. You know, somebody's got to be 2,700. And I jumped off. I said, this is not, going to be my life. My opponents convinced me. I better do something else. So what I do, not knowing what to do, I went to law school. Back home in DC, Georgetown Law. But I will never forget that experience playing pro tennis because it dawned on me like 6, 7 years later. I'm an agent now, and I'm recruiting a kid at University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. I pick up the school paper. It says, tonight at the tennis center. Satellite tours in town. I'm like, I played on that tour. Awesome. I go out there, same thing, 10 people in the stands calling their own lines. But the thing that hit me, and I'll remember to this day, to my dying day, that I looked out there on that court 7 years after I played, same guys. Same guys. And that was a moment, because I went out with these guys for beers afterwards, and they're looking at me like, Andrew, what'd you do? Why'd you stop? What are you doing? And I looked at them and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're 30 years old. What are you doing? And they're like, it's sports. What do you mean? We're going to play. And now instead of 2,000 in the world, these guys are like 700, 800, 500. One guy beat a guy ranked 50. You know, it's like they're in until their arm falls off. And they're going to do it. And then at age 35, they're going to be a pro in the Bahamas in the winter and in Cape Cod in the summer. And it's a life. And I'm like, I wanted more. I mean, I have a real job. It's representing athletes, so it's not really a real job. But yeah, I got off. And it really dawned on me that elite athletes are a special breed. I've been around them my whole career. And the more dramatic part of it is, once you get off that train, you're in the wind. You know, you see it every day in big-time sports like football, basketball, baseball. Once you're off, no one cares, right? No one cares. There's too many players to care about someone that may or may not retire, or whatever. The train keeps moving. And it really helped me later in my career dealing with Brett Favre, dealing with all these players that had a hard time leaving. I get it. I get it. Because once you're gone, you're gone. you're gone. And now you're a human being for the next 50 years instead of an athlete. And it happens so fast. You go from athlete to former athlete. And we all try to hang on, me included. You know, I do all my fitness and triathlon stuff because I'm hanging on. You know, I was once that elite athlete. And you just never like, wow, that was great. But I knew I couldn't compete at that level. Those guys are still trying. And for them, being 1,000 in the world was enough to satisfy their career lengths. So anyway, I was in law school at DC. There was a big firm down the road called ProServe. It's no longer. And lucky for me, you need a hook into sports. My hook was, hey, you guys represent tennis players. I was a tennis player. And my real hook was, I can get you meetings with Stanford tennis players. And they're like, yeah, we'll take a chance on this kid. So I spent 3 years in law school, 80% of it working as an unpaid intern, and 20% of it in law school. And then after law school, I had the choice and the tough decision of actually going to a real law firm, you know, because being an agent is not being a real lawyer. It really isn't. You don't do any sophisticated legal work. Or going into sports, which I did, of course. I stayed in sports. And for a while, I was a tennis agent. And when you're a tennis agent, you're recruiting 13-year-olds. You know, you're going to the Orange Bowl in Miami, and you're recruiting, which means you're recruiting parents. Which, you know, and tennis parents are no peach. You know, I'm an athletic parent now. We're not easy. Because every one of us who are parents in here, you know, your kids, you know, walks on water. Of course. How could the coach not see that? So I was an agent, but I got burned out on tennis. And more importantly, I saw down the hall a guy named David Falk. David, you know, was working with Mike Jordan, Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, Allen Iverson, all these guys. I'm like, hey, can I go work for that guy? I want to be in the firm, but I want out of tennis into that guy. And you know, this is what happens in life. Look for your path. They said, yeah, because he needed help. And then I saw a different path because David was so invested in Michael and the NBA that we had a few football players. And they needed help. And I'm like, I'll be the football guy. Why not? You know, you look at me. I've never played football. But growing up a huge fan of the Redskins and growing up a big-time football fan, I'm like, this is cool. So I went from 3 to 5 to 10 to 15 players in my 6 years there, and we had a football practice. Then I'm like doing a contract with the Minnesota Vikings. The guy named Mike Lynn ran the Vikings, but was also involved in putting together an NFL Europe. And he looks at me and he says, let me ask you something. Do you speak Barcelonan? I said, is that Spanish? He said, yeah. Turns out it's not. And I said, sure. You know, I took it in high school. Why not? He said, how'd you like to be first general manager of the Barcelona Dragons? I said, what's that? He said, we're starting a new league. It's going to be great. Overseas, great. I said, do you have any jobs in this country? No. No, this is going to be a Europe league. And I said, I'm young, I'm single. So I said, okay. So the first time, I've done this twice now in my career, I went from labor, players, to management. This time to run a minor league, not minor league, but a developmental league team overseas. And I took this job, and I had no players, no coaches, no staff, moving to a country that knew nothing about the sport. So I'm like, what do I do? They said, hire a coach. I'm like, who do I hire? They said, we got these young, hot assistants in the NFL, like Pete Carroll, talk to him. This guy, Tony Dungy, talk to him. I'm like, okay. I talked to them. They're like, Andrew, this sounds really cool. But no way. I'm not going to Spain. Are you kidding me? I'm like, I get it. Boston College just fired their coach, a guy named Jack Bicknell. It was great. I meet him. I like him. I say, you're in. I love you. You're great. You're hired. Come to Barcelona. He's like, great. He's like, I got all these assistant coaches. And before he started going on about them, I'm like, they're hired. You want to meet them? No. I don't have time for that. You like them? Yeah, hired. He says, I got trainers, equipment, video. I'm like, Hired. You want to meet them? No. I don't have time to meet them. You like them? Yeah, good. And we got to get players. We go down to Florida, we draft. I don't know who to draft. I asked NFL people who to draft. They tell me to draft. My #1 pick actually went to Temple, Paul Palmer, running back. So we go, I draft 80. I don't know who they are. 5 days training camp, 5 days in Winter Park, Florida. Cut to 40. I tell 40 guys, no, you can't come to Spain with us. Some were Spanish. Get on a plane, arrive. We have an instant football team. In 10 days, we made a football team. We get to the stadium. Our ticket guy or marketing guy says, proudly, says, we have sold, proudly, 173 tickets. I said, how many does it hold? 40,000. Well, that's not good. And he tells me in Spain, they walk up. I'm like, that's a hell of a lot of walk up. So I'm like, what do we do? And I'm handing out tickets on street corners. Like, what do we do? I said, well, okay. We had the great idea through a lot of pulling strings. We got a meeting, just a meeting, with the general manager of Football Club Barcelona, one of the great brands in all of sport. They're having a game the night before our game, 100,000 people. We just won 10,000. And I say to the GM, like, what do you guys do at halftime? What do you mean? What do you do at halftime? What do you mean? What do you do at halftime? What do you mean? What do you do between they go in and they go out? And he actually said to me this. He said, we smoke cigarettes. I said, no. What do you do on the field? Oh, nothing. I said, can we get out there and run, kick the ball, throw the ball? Say tomorrow night, Montjuic Stadium, Barcelona Dragons. He actually said, we still smoke. I'm like, yeah. So we got out there and we did it. And the announcer said, I hope he said that. And thank God, 19,000 people walked through that door the next night. Now, I probably gave out 6,000, 7,000 tickets, but whatever. That was great. And now we got to worry about the product. We get out there, first half's a little squirrely. We don't look so good. It's 0-0. With second half, we get the ball. We hit our tight end on a seam pattern. He breaks 3 tackles, touchdown. I'm jumping up and down. The crowd is this polite golf applause. And our kicker comes on, kicks the extra point. They go nuts. They went absolutely nuts. And I'm like, oh my God. Then I realized, now this went on for literally 2 years. They cheered at all the wrong times. They did the wave the entire game long. They did the Olé song the entire game long. I had to hire a Spanish player. The NFL said, we can't have all Americans, go hire a Spanish. I'm like, okay. So we have this tryout, all the best American football players in Spain, which is less than this room. And I'm excited to see Jose, the sack man, Martin. Jose's my size. There's no one. So I find this kid. He looks good. He speaks English. We give him the jersey. We got him. Guillermo Gomez. Guillermo, turns out, was hated by the media because Guillermo was born and raised in Madrid. Barcelonans hate Madrid. I didn't know that. And vice versa. They hate each other. So now we're getting creamed. I'm like, what do we do? Go hire a Barcelona kid. I'm like, okay. So we hire this Cisco. He's 120 pounds. He's like, okay, Cisco, you're our guy. And the whole 2 years, the second half, we would hear, we want Cisco. Cisco never played football. He was like our mascot. So I'm dealing with this. Anyway, 2 years. I was there January to June each year. We had maybe 10 to 15,000, but they didn't care. They didn't care. They didn't. I had a fan committee. I said, tell me what we're doing good, what we're doing bad. He said, Andrew, you have too many meetings. I'm like, what's a meeting? You run a play, then you meet. Then you run a play, then you meet. I said, yeah, they're called huddles. No, we don't want, no more meetings. So I go to our coach. I'm like, they don't want meetings. What are meetings? Huddles. Well, screw them. We huddle. So this is kind of the push and pull we had over there. They didn't care. So I told our marketing staff, as small as it was, I said, we're not doing football here. Don't sell touchdowns and quarterbacks. Don't. Done. Over. Well, what do we sell? Here's what we sell. We sell 3 hours in America. That's what we're selling. That's what they want. So I hired 2 Miami Dolphin cheerleaders. They teach the women how to dance like that. Las Chicas del Dragons. They were so popular. I hired Frisbee dogs. Great. $5,000. Crapped all over a hotel. But great value. Before, during, after games. Flamethrowers, marching bands, hot dogs, hamburgers, rap music every time out. I mean, it was just, we made it a party. They didn't care about football. And I told the NFL this. They're like, let's just try. That was the first year. Let's try one more year. So it's like, okay. But they don't. They just want an American experience. So we made it for that. And then the logistics is, no one would ever believe it. I look at these NFL teams that go to Europe or London for 1 week and they're complaining. I'm like, oh my God. Our road trips, we were taking buses, planes, trains, automobiles. I would have to bribe customs to get our equipment. They ruined our jerseys every time we played. The laundry didn't know what to do. I had to put night tables with pillows at the end of each bed so their feet didn't flop over. The hardest thing in Barcelona, and I'll finish this part, but it was food. I just couldn't get enough food. I'd order food for 70. It was gone after 20, 25 every night. I'm like, please, more food. And they said, they eat so much. They're so big. I'm like, yes, but more food. I never ate. Our players would eat, then they'd go out to eat. It was just a nightmare with the food. I mean, you got to understand, this is pre-internet in the 90s, and my job as general manager is unlike any general manager that you know. I was just trying to keep it together. We had 45 Americans never been away out of the country, any of them, who were out of the country for 4 months. We had psychological issues, we had breakdowns, it was horrible. So people don't realize what goes on when you're starting a new venture overseas, but you've got 21 to 25-year-olds that are like stuck. They can't read the papers, they can't understand the TV. All they cared about was the striptease channel at night. That was it. So that was a different experience. The league suspended, came back as NFL Europe 2 without Barcelona. I went back into the agent business. Bob Wolf was a pioneer agent who died suddenly. His firm was left to his wife. She didn't want to run a sports firm. She sold to a big group out of Boston. They had people come in to run the divisions. And I joined with an equity interest to run football, basketball, baseball for Wolf Associates in Boston. My partner on the hockey side was a guy named Bobby Orr, which was really cool because he was not just a celebrity. He was recruiting and after these players. So I was representing athletes for their 3 years, and my time there was really consumed with one player because I got a hook into a player as a baseball client, playing during his summers away from college. He was playing minor league baseball. His name is Ricky Williams. Ricky was a great outfielder for the minor league system of the Phillies. I got him, I met him, we hit it off, and I was his agent, and as a baseball agent to a pro player, I could buy him things, I could give him flights, I could do all that. He was a pro athlete. Of course, he blew up on the football side, and I was there and hung on and hung on and hung on and finally signed him as a football client, and he wins the Heisman, and he's the hottest thing, and he's the first guy with dreads, and he's awesome, and I got him. I'm a small, mid-size agent, and I got Ricky Williams, and I'm hanging on by a thread. He's going around the world. He's in Asia. He's in Europe. He's in Hawaii. He's in Japan. I'm like, my wife's like, what do you do on these trips? I'm like, nothing. I'm just here. I'm protecting the asset. And I didn't do so good a job because I see Ricky's got these guys hanging around. I'm like, Rick, who are these guys? He says, well, they work for Master P. And I'm like, who's Master P? Rapper. What's up? I want to be with Master P, starting a sports agency. He's an entrepreneur. He's great. I said, okay, what about me? He goes, I want you to work for P. I don't like those guys in Boston. I like you. I'm like, you want me and P? He says, yeah. I said, I don't know about that. He said, well, meet him. I'm like, okay, I'll meet him. I meet him. It's quite a scene. A lot going on. But he's going to, have me do all the contracts. He's going to get into basketball and baseball and hockey and boxing. He's already got boxers. And I'm like, okay. And I'm telling my wife now, I think I'm going to work for this guy, Master P. She's like, why? Because I go back to Boston without Ricky. I don't have a job there. No. And this is my option. And so, I'm going to have Ricky as Master P. And it's a stressful time. And the exact same time, like within a day, it's just amazing. In a day, I'm getting calls from the Green Bay Packers. Now, over the years, I had clients there. At that time, I had one client there who's now still a good friend, just retired last year, third-string quarterback named Matt Hasselbeck. But they're not calling me about Hasselbeck. I'm like, why are you calling me? They said, well, our coach, Mike Holmgren, he just left to go to the Seattle Seahawks. I'm like, great, I watch SportsCenter. What's up? Well, he took Reinfeldt. Reinfeldt was the head of the business operation, and Holmgren took him to Seattle. I said, okay, what's up? They said, well, how'd you like to switch sides? I'm like, what? Come to Green Bay? Yeah. I said, well, first of all, I said, you deal with 100 agents. Why me? And they just said they liked the way I dealt with people. They liked, I seemed to know my way around these contracts. Hasselbeck obviously loved me. We hit it off. Sometimes you hit it off with a client, like you're more than a client, you're like best friends. And then the main thing they said was they wanted to be more agent friendly. What better way than to hire an agent? So now it's like, okay, Green Bay, Wisconsin. I went up there and interviewed, and I was very direct. I've said, please don't take offense at this question, but do I have to move here to do this job? And they said, no offense. Oh, we understand. There's 2 seasons, winter and 4th of July. But yeah, you got to be here. So I moved to Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I was there 10 years. And I think a lot of people know what a coach does, what a scout does. What did I do? Basically, as capologist, vice president of football operations, vice president of administration, I had a lot of titles, general counsel. And here's basically what I was in a nutshell. I was the bridge between the business side and the football side. And that's an important role. I think not enough organizations have that person. Because on the business side, you're very long term. What are we going to look like when the CBA expires? In our case, what are we going to look like when Brett retires? How do we position our team 5 years out, 10 years out? What's the cap going to look like in 2025? That's the business side. On the football side, it's like as you would expect. It's like today, Like, Andrew, can you get that guy signed by practice at 3 o'clock? Can you get him on the field Sunday? Can we make this happen like tomorrow? So I'd say half of my time is being the voice of aggression to the business side, where I'm like, I think we should do this. I think I need $1 million here. I want to make this happen. And the other half is being the voice of caution to the football side, which is, no. We got enough invested in defensive line here. We'll do that next year. No, we're not going to bring in that player because we have committed to these players. Always a push and pull. And it's usually sort of that dichotomy you see in sports all the time with coaching and management, which is the present versus the future. And every organization needs, I would describe myself as a mediator between those two sides. And nowhere did that coalesce more, of course, in the famous story that I've told a few times, and I'll tell you now. We're in that draft room. the night of April 23rd, 2006. And we have a board, like every team, and we had 19, maybe 18, 19 players rated as first-round grades. You know, 32 picks, but no team has 32 players rated first round. We had about 18, 19. Two things happened that night. Number one, 18 of those 19 gone. Gone. We wanted DeMarcus Ware so bad, freaking Cowboys. We wanted this linebacker, Derek Johnson, so bad, freaking Chiefs. We wanted all these guys. David Pollock, a colleague I work with at ESPN. We wanted them, gone. The other thing happening is the one player that is up there, no one's taken him. His name is Aaron Rodgers. John Gruden at 5 said, yeah, we're taking you. No. 4 teams told him, we're taking you. No. So now we have this moment in our history of the Green Bay Packers that's coalescing right now, where we're looking at that board and we're seeing this is going to happen. So I've got the coaches on my right, and I've got GM on the left. And the coaches are literally yanking me, pulling me, because there's some combustion going on over here. And they're saying, Andrew, no way. No, no. We can't take this guy. Because if you're a coach and you see your team about to use its precious asset of a first-round pick on a player that won't help them, won't help us. Wasn't going to help us that year, maybe not the next year, maybe not the next year, never, maybe never. They're going crazy. If we take Aaron Rodgers with the most durable quarterback in the history of the sport on our team, that's a problem. So there is a lot of mess over here. Now, on the management side, on the scouting side, the GM side, they're looking at me and saying, Andrew, what do we always say? Trust the board. Trust the board. That's what we're going to do. So now we got an issue. And this is my moment. Because again, I told you my role. I'm a mediator. So we go out into the hallway. We leave the room 10 minutes before we're on the clock. And I said these words. Listen, if we take Rodgers, Brett will go crazy. Brett's agent will go crazy. Our fans will not like it. Aaron will not like it. Aaron's agent will not like it. Our team won't like it. Our coaches won't like it. And so now I got the coaches going, yeah, they're not going to take him. And then I look at our coaches and I say, having said all that, we should take him. We should take him. Having said all what I just said, we should take Aaron Rodgers. And now you got, I'm going to quit, all this stuff going on over here. And I said, because, they're like, why? I said, because an organization has to stand for something. We have to stand for something. And what we stand for in the Green Bay Packers is scouting. We trust our scouts. They spent 7 months out there coming up with the best player for us right now, and that's Rodgers. If we don't take him, we deflate our whole team. We deflate the morale of our staff. This is their moment, not ours. This is our scouts' moment. And now there's all kinds of accusations going on, and it's like we're about to get on the clock. And I say, okay, here's the compromise. Here is the compromise. And our GM makes the decision ultimately about what's going to be offered. But we get them on the phone, and we wait for 12 of that 15 minutes, and we watch and listen to the phones. And if we get an offer, we trade them. So now I get him on the phone. I'm watching him on TV. The poor guy's been sitting there 6 hours. The caterer's cleaned the room. He's alone. And I'm watching him talk to me, and I'm like holding in the whole room. And for those 12 and a half minutes, crickets. Phone never rang. I think about the NFL every time I watch Aaron, how different it could look if that phone rang. If that phone rang, we were looking to trade. No one wanted Aaron Rodgers. So we took him. Okay, Brett calls the coach, livid. Brett's agent calls me, livid. Aaron puts on a good face, but who wants to go to a place they're not going to play? We have a Lambeau Field party going on below us, 1,000 people. Boo, just terrible boos. Awful, shaking the building. No one liked this. No one. So then I spent 3 years, a lot of the time, doing something that no one knows about. When you're management, people think about you doing contracts, you're scouting, no, you're managing personalities. So we had Brett and Aaron, and every week I'm dealing with that. Brett's side is calling and saying, Andrew, do you know what it's like to come into work every day and sit with your replacement? That stinks. I'm like, yeah, I get it. It sucks. And Aaron's side is like, do you know what it's like to come into work every day and know you're never going to play? Never? That guy will never get hurt, ever. I'm like, yeah, it sucks. But just hold on. To win. Just hold on. To win. I don't know when. And Brett's side is, when are you going to replace me? I don't know. Hopefully never. We'll see. I don't know. So you're managing this. And you've got country hayseed southern Mississippi, and you got California cool. That's not great. That's not a great mix. So that first year, who'd I call? Who saved us that year? He's right down the road. Old Doug Peterson. Every year I'd call Doug, because I always try to get a backup quarterback in Green Bay. Could never get one. No one wants to come to Green Bay. It's cold and you'll never play. Who wants that? So every year, about April, May, I'd call up Doug Peterson. He's like, how many guys you called before me? Like 10. I said, can you come back? Oh. And this time I called and I said, can you come back? And he goes, no, I'm coaching high school. I'm out of this. I'm done. I said, Doug, please. I got Brett. I got Aaron. I'll pay you $1 million. Just be in that room. Be our coach. No, I'm coach. I'm like, Doug, please. Please, Doug. And he did it. 1 year. You know, and so I see his success over here. I mean, he has dealt with a lot in terms of coaching, in terms of personalities. He's prepared, obviously. So that was the Green Bay experience. It was unique. How are we doing on time? Okay. And then the last 7 years, in 30 seconds, I've done media and academia. What I really saw was a void. I wanted to leave team. I didn't want to do that my whole career. So a void in media and academia where I thought I could lend something here. And this sort of third chapter of my career has been really trying to bring people inside what really happens in the inner workings of sports, whether through teaching or podcasting or writing or TV or analysis. I thought that's a way I can give back. You know, I think third chapters of careers are often about giving back. And I can't cure cancer, but this is one thing I can do. So that's what I've been doing. I was here, obviously, on the academic side. I'm now at Villanova. And, of course, on the media side with ESPN, with Sports Illustrated, with my podcast, all those kind of things. So now I can take, hopefully, 1 or 2 questions. Hi.
How do you see this new law in California impacting your industry in sports meetings?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I have to say about this California bill, and I did have Val Ackerman, the head of the Big East, talk about it on my podcast, this new idea. The NCAA is trying to do something. It's certainly not going to be like what the states are talking about. But the fact is, I'm a little more conservative, and full disclosure, I'm part of a university at Villanova, but let's look at Villanova. We have a men's basketball team that's won 2 of the last 4 national championships, and that's one of 25 sports, 24 of which don't make money. And the one that doesn't make a lot. So I think when people focus on this issue of paying college athletes, not even paying, but this name, image, likeness thing, it's always the extremes, the Zions, And people don't think about what college sports really is. 99% of it doesn't make any money. We have a football team at Villanova, 70 scholarships, 60 grand each. That's $4.2 million. Makes zero. So we're talking about, how to compensate the superstar. Yeah, fine. But that's not college sports. So the challenge, I think it's politically popular right now. Yeah, we get on LeBron's show, talk about Zion. Okay. Is anyone talking about men's wrestling? Is anyone talking about women's field hockey? Do we really think they're going to get endorsement deals? Like, how is this going to affect college athletics is my question, not how it's going to affect 10 athletes around the country. So I just think it's a bigger picture. The NCAA is just starting. I think two things are going to happen. They are going to allow some kind of endorsement income to come to these players, but it's got to be tethered to education. What does that mean? Maybe it's some kind of third-party trust where the player can access it, not a university trust, but third-party, where the player can access it upon graduation or upon separation from the university. And the other part is figuring out, I think we need a blue ribbon economic panel to figure out how much of that player's value is that player versus the name across the jersey. Where you have a Zion Williamson who could go to the G League and make $250,000, $300,000, he'd rather go to Duke. Why? Because that name is worth more than $300,000. So these are all the things that have to go into it in terms of what's the value, how much of it comes in. There's a kid at Georgetown in the Big East, Mac McClung, I think. So he came in to Georgetown with 200,000 Instagram followers. Great. He should get all the value out of that. But now with the Georgetown name, he's got more value. How do you separate that? Those are the tough questions. One more? One more.
Really quick.
So given your experience trying to develop a team abroad, do you have any thoughts about American Alliance football and where they could have done things differently this past season?
It always comes down to a single model in terms of where's the best place for our money. I thought the AAF model was a little scary because the investment came from venture, it came from celebrities like Shaq, it came from all kinds of sources, and they're all going to have different opinions. And then they got the Carolina Hurricanes owner in there, and he had different ideas about where the money should be spent. Having said that, I do give XFL a much better chance because now it's one investor, Vince McMahon, that's it. And he's got billions. So you get one investor with a single vision, you got a chance. You really do have a chance. AAF coming in from all these visions, that's not going to work. But I think there's obviously an appetite for football in the spring if it's done right and the expectations are low in terms of salaries. Never try to compete with NFL salaries. Keep the expectations low and have a single investor. When Vince McMahon can cash out a couple $2 billion, yeah, they'll make payroll. They're good. So I give that a real chance, unlike the AF.
Andrew,
Thank you for your
so
time.
much. Thank you, everyone.